Before we get to our Week 2 Bengals victory recap podcast, I want to take a few moments to talk to you about a couple other podcasts available on the Press Play Podcast Network. Most notable, our newest one, the Hyman Podcast, hosted by our Chief Operating Officer, J.D. Hyman. The Hyman Podcast focuses on the human experience through a narrative storytelling approach. The first 2 episodes discusses race and the George Floyd protest, and JD growing up as a black man in America. You don't want to miss this, and we wish you would give us a listen. Give it a shot. If it's not your thing, if you really don't agree with some of those stances, just give us 25, 30 minutes. Check that out. JD's style and point of view is unique, and we could not be more thrilled to have him on board with us. Check out the Hyman Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And also, don't forget to check out our Cleveland Indians pod, a Swing in a Tribe MLB podcast, hosted by Mike Voorhees and Brent Spillin. This week, they're having Gab Cruz on to talk Tribe playoffs. You don't want to miss that. And of course, we have Dennis Maniloff and Kenny Rhoda with the Press Play Podcast Network, covering all your Cleveland sports every Sunday night. Some of the best in the biz right there. They take me to school every single week. It's just the best. If you want to listen in and join in their conversation, you can check them out at the Next Man Up podcast. The Oranges Oranger will be with you twice a week, bringing you game recaps and game previews. This episode, Camryn, Jeremy, and I recap our Week 2 victory against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I didn't realize it until after the episode was over. My microphone was not plugged into my computer, so you're hearing my computer audio. I'm sorry. That's a noob mistake, and I completely blew it. Anyway, Jim Donovan, take us away.
45-40, run, William, run! He's got blockers in front, 5, touchdown! Joshua Cribbs! Snap back, ball down, kick block! They blocked the kick!
This is the Oranges, Oranger Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, as always, Browns insider Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, what's up, my man?
Chase, what is up? Excited to be doing the show tonight, baby.
Also with us all season long, she's your favorite Emmy-nominated digital content producer at News Channel 5, Camryn Justice. Camryn, victory weekend. What's up, girl?
Oh, man. It's a long time to celebrate. It's every day until the next game is a victory day. So.
That's right.
Love it. Well, let's get things started with 5 hot minutes with Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, go.
Yeah, so Chase, first off, before I get really into what I want to talk about, I got to give the Browns credit because, the Browns – got to prove to have fans. Some teams, I don't know if y'all know this, got to prove to have fans, and the teams decided not to have fans because they thought it was going to be too much a hassle. They didn't know if they were going to be able to make money with all the protocols they had to put on, the limited fans, having concessions open. But the Browns absolutely did a top-notch job. Some of the things I saw, let me tell you about a few of them. Most of the questions we were in the Cardiac Club. They did not skimp on anything. Free everything in there. They had great food, great desserts, even with a limited number of people there. There's no way they made money. There's no way the Browns with 6,000 fans in there and a ton. They still had a ton of employees. You had people helping out everywhere. We noticed one thing that was just incredible. Every seat in the stadium that's a fold-up seat that you couldn't sit in, which is, 60,000, was zip tied up. So you couldn't even accidentally sit there. Now think about how much time it takes to have an employees walking around zip tying up seats across a 60,000 seats. The Browns went above and beyond to have a small number of fans at the game. And for those 6,000 fans, me included, my buddy included, my son, we are eternally grateful to the Browns because it just took so much work to get that few fans in. Like I said, I'm sure they took a loss. There's no way they made money on having those fans in there. But the Browns, I think, probably know the fans for the years of all the bad football. But they did a fantastic job. Shout out to the Browns. It was clearly safe. The way this stadium was spaced, it was an incredible job by the Browns. Now to the Browns on the field, it was also an incredible job because it was exactly what we wanted to see from Coach Stefanski. It was 2 backs. It was 3 tight ends. It was playmakers making plays. It was Baker Mayfield on the move, Baker Mayfield out of the pocket, Baker Mayfield looking sharp, Baker Mayfield getting all his playmakers involved. The Browns showed depth. They didn't have their starting right tackle. They had Hubbard in for him. It was nice to see the Browns without starters manhandle the Bengals up front, look that great in the running game. Andy Janovich, who is an unheralded signing who we loved, was a man on the field. I mean, he was just awesome as a lead blocker. Joel Bitonio was awesome as a blocker. Hooper was awesome as a blocker. He only had 2 catches for 22 yards, but he was fantastic. Is exactly what, when we hired Stefanski and we started to get excited about his system, we wanted to see. Finding a way to use 2 of the best backs in the league, and they showed it that we have 2 of the probably top 6 or 7 running backs in the league on our team, and we finally have a coach who knows how to use them. It was beautiful. I heard Stefanski say today, and I thought this was such a cool quote. He said that one thing the Browns had that a lot of teams don't have is 2 backs who can make plays on what they call dirty plays. And what he said a dirty play is, it's a running play where they know they don't have everybody blocked, where they know there's going to be someone coming free, someone not blocked, someone they can't account for with their blockers. But Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, he said he thinks are 2 of the best in the league at making that one guy who's unaccounted for miss or running him over. And you saw that multiple times. I know that Hunt had 4 broken tackles, and I think Chubb had 6 or 7, but it's just so incredible to have 2 running backs that good on one team and a with a system that knows how to use them. It was nice to see, get creative down on the goal line. Everything about the offense of performance of that game, I loved. The defense leaves something to be desired, yes, but we also have 3 major players back practicing today on defense. So I'm interested to see what happens this week with that. So I was impressed with the Browns as an organization as far as the facility goes. I was impressed with the Browns bouncing back as a football team on short rest to look that good. That's what I think. What do you guys think?
Very well said, Jay. Camryn, what are your thoughts on the 35-30 Cleveland Browns victory over the Bengals?
First of all, let me say how exciting it was to see the Browns look efficient and talented and well coached and well managed. Everything about that game was it was beautiful. Offensively speaking, everything that you wanted to see going into the week, you got Baker Mayfield finding Odell Beckham early, getting him involved for a touchdown. That kept him happy, but it also gave him the ability to keep other players happy and spread the ball throughout the offense. And that's really, really crucial for this Browns team from Baker Mayfield. If you have all these offensive weapons, use them. And with the play action scheme and playing out of play action, when you have all these offensive weapons, it just makes it so much smoother. And when they produce, that's when you see success. And you saw that with Odell Beckham Jr. in the mix, Jarvis Landry in the mix, Kadarius Hodge getting in the mix, Austin Hooper in the mix, Harrison Bryant had a look, Andy Janovich, you said, had it. And then, of course, the run game of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. It was beautiful. It was very fluid. You couldn't ask for more offensively, because it was exactly what you wanted to see. Kevin Stefanski doing what he does best, rolling Baker out, and that's when he looks his most comfortable. And I said it last week before the game started. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see a confident, excited Baker Mayfield. That's how you get it. You put him in a system that is made for him, that plays to his strengths, and you could tell in that game that that's where he belongs. That's the game that you have to run for him. And that's where he'll thrive. And it was just so great to see it finally happening, finally fitting. And I know it's just week 2, but like I said before, this is what it needs to happen. This is how this team has to play. They have to continue what they did against the Bengals. And I think there's going to be a lot of happy Browns fans week in and week out if they keep playing like this and build off of this.
And you guys said it great, and I want to try to sum up all of what you said. And we haven't seen a lot of this with the Cleveland Browns football lately. What we saw on Thursday night was complimentary football, Jeremy, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the offense feeding off the defense, and the defense creating just enough plays when we needed it to correct some of the offensive mistakes. It was just complimentary football, and guys, do I say the Browns maybe are toying with an identity here, Jeremy? Would you say the Browns maybe this is an identity football game? Like we've maybe found something here?
You know what they remind me a little of, but we just clearly have more talent, is the year Peyton Hillis had the big year. You had Lawrence Vickers as the fullback, who was great. Eric Steinbach leading the way on, as a fantastic pulling guard. You had kind of the same thing yesterday with Bitonio, Janovich, but we have 2 vastly more talented running backs. And I think the key for the Browns going forward, and I think Camryn will agree with this, is we have to stay on schedule offensively. What I mean with that, about that, is we have to stay in front of the sticks, right? Don't get behind the sticks, because if we do, we will be deadly. If we run the ball early and we force them to respect the run, and then that sets up that play action and the moving the pocket, that's going to be the Browns' identity. I know people hate this day and age, saying they run first, but it's what plays to our strength, and it plays to Baker Mayfield's strength. And you saw early how on target he was when we were moving the pocket. To be able to have those play action passes work, obviously the run game has to be working. But I just think Baker looks so much better on the move outside of the pocket. I mean, I went back and watched it again, and just how pinpoint his throws were when he was on the move was almost incredible.
Jay, I'm going to push back on you there a little bit, because I think because of the value and the talent of our running backs, even if we're down 10 with 7 minutes to go or 5 minutes to go, they still have to respect the run game. Or even
I agree 100%.
Because they can hit that long run anytime. And so I think that really is a huge benefit to Stefanski. But I still think even play action down 14, I think that's still effective, because they can, like you said, make plays out of dirty plays. They can break the long run. You just never know when Chubb or Hunt are going to go off. Camryn, did the Browns find an identity on Thursday night?
Yeah, they did. I wrote about that this week. That was my story after the game. Was I think the Browns might have found their identity, because you saw it last season, and it was almost like they were so close to figuring out that run first is the way to go. That's how this team has to play. And it happened. It happened on Thursday, and they were successful. It didn't just happen. It was successful, and it looked natural. It wasn't forced. It wasn't, a work in progress. It was from the jump. As soon as they started it, and as soon as they initiated it, it worked. So, I mean, that's it. That's the key. It's there's no overthinking it. They did what they did. And it worked out. So don't overthink it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So I want to see it continue next week, because I think that is the identity. They proved that in week 2.
And that's why I say they need to stay on schedule. And what I mean by that, Chase, is not have negative plays to start downs, right? So not have stupid penalties where you get behind the sticks. The key to this team being successful, I think, is, gaining yards on first and second down, not getting behind the sticks, not having negative plays. If they can do that, they will be deadly with the play action game, because the running game is so strong. And you're right. It's exactly, remember when Shanahan, the year we had a really good offense, when Shanahan was our offensive coordinator, the Browns came back from down 28 versus Steelers by running the ball, because you can still do that. And sometimes it's even more effective to run it. Yeah. Sometimes it's even more effective to run the ball when they don't think you're going to run it. Right. Yeah. And especially when you have an explosive run game. And that's kind of it's a similar offense to Shanahan's offense. This offense was Stefanski. So I love it. I mean, I love running football. I'm an offensive coordinator. I love offensive football, and I love being able to run the ball. I mean, the coolest thing, that was one of my favorite drives ever, the drive to seal the win. When we drove the ball, was it 6 carries for 75 yards, 3 to Hunt, 3 to Chubb, right down. I mean, that's where Troy Aikman, belts out that we had the best tandem in the NFL, because that is how you finish a game. You do what you do best. You run it down their throats. You impose your will on them to end the game. It was beautiful. It was exactly what I wanted to see, and it was awesome.
Jeremy, I think I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. A lot of the things I've been seeing on Twitter really this season more than last season, is the term positive game script and negative game script. Does that speak to playing behind the chains or being in positive to first down?
Exactly. You want your early downs to be positive plays, because then you don't have to come off script. When you would say, a lot of coaches will say script the first 20 plays of the game. Well, if you have negative plays early, you have to come off your script, because then you're in 2nd and 14. You're not scripting a play for 3rd and 16 or 2nd and 14. You're scripting plays where you're on script, on schedule, as they say. But when you fall behind the chains, you have to come off script. So I think that's probably what they're referring to, and that's what it is. If the Browns can stay on schedule, on script, they're going to be a very tough team to beat.
Yep. Jeremy, I'll give you the final word here on your 5 hot minutes. Speak to just how disruptive our D-line was.
I loved it. That's exactly what we envisioned, and that's when we brought, if we're going off the San Francisco model, that's exactly how they play, right? You may not have the greatest secondary. I know Nathan Zagura talked a lot about this, how San Francisco just plugged guys in the secondary, and their defense was still very strong, because when you have a pass rush, that makes up for deficiencies in the secondary, right? So, and I thought Sheldon Richardson played an absolutely fantastic game, probably his best game as a Brown. I thought that just the whole front, guys filling in. Adrian Claiborne had 2 sacks, I believe. Miles had the strip sack. It was just it was a team effort up there. Porter Gustin, right? I mean, he's becoming a force in there. I like the way they played. I like the way they played downhill. It looked to me like the D-line played downhill. If we can continue to get that kind of effort, like we said, Greedy coming back. Greedy's practicing again. Kevin Johnson's practicing again. Mac Wilson's practicing again. So if we get that kind of effort out of our front 7 with those guys coming back in the back end and, Ronnie Harrison getting a little more involved in the defense, things are looking up.
Big names coming back for sure. Jeremy, 5 hot minutes. Good work, man. Good work.
Hey, thank you, sir.
It's always fun at the end of the season to go back and listen to the 188 hot minutes.
The first time you did that, remember that? Man, we had a lot of people say it was like an emotional roller coaster listening to it because, like, 1 week I'm up and the next week I'm ready to quit football.
I think that was Baker's rookie year. It was when I did that first, I think, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it was fun. It was awesome. Awesome idea by you.
It's always fun. Hey, silver linings are a lot better to do when we win, huh, Camryn?
Yeah.
Always.
So let's give a couple Browns silver linings. Here's the kind of game recap. Browns won 35-30. Baker, 16 for 23, 219 yards, 2 TDs, 1 really bad pick. Chubb, 22 rushes for 124, 2 TDs. Hunt, 10 rushes for 86 yards, 1 TD. OBJ, 4 for 74 and a touchdown. Jarvis, 3 for 46. Joe Burrow, 37 for 61, 316 yards, 3 TDs, no picks. 3 official sacks, numerous pressures. We forced a fumble on Joe. Joe was probably in the ice bath a couple of days straight after that game. Camryn, what are some silver linings from that great divisional W?
So we could go pretty obvious. There's a lot of great things that we saw. They won, first of all. And second of all, we saw a lot of players really shine. But my biggest silver lining for week 2 is honestly the lack of injuries that we saw. That's my biggest silver lining in a league that saw so many star players go down this week. My silver lining is that we didn't have anything like that. You can't be more grateful because there's a lot of star players around the league that are now done for the season, done for multiple weeks. And on Thursday, you saw Adrian Claiborne left the game with a hip injury, but late. I mean, it wasn't, and it's not, it's not serious. And we got players now, Mac Wilson coming back, Greedy Williams coming back to practice, Kevin Johnson coming back to practice. So we're on the opposite end of it. So my silver linings was this. It didn't end in a bunch of injuries, which it very well could have, the way we saw other games. It
does seem like all things are pointing Browns right now. Momentum, we getting players back at the right time. Like we start stringing, if we play struggling Washington pro football team game coming up, we get some momentum when we really earn some of this like swagger, then I feel like this is a team that really could build on that. I love that we escaped that game relatively healthy. Jeremy, what's a silver lining from that W, man?
I think the silver lining was the play of the front on defense because we really weren't sure. I kind of thought if we could commit it to the running backs would be great. I wasn't sure about the front. But like I said, I thought Sheldon Richardson played his best game as a Brown. Myles Garrett making a big play in a big spot. I think that's the it's not as obvious as maybe the running game and stuff like that. But I think the play of the defensive front was a big silver lining.
I agree, man. It was pretty evident from the jump that we were controlling line of scrimmage, that we had that push whenever really we wanted it. Baker didn't get sacked, I don't think. Did he? Let me look really quick.
Maybe one. I can't remember.
Maybe
I think one sack. He was not under pressure though. Yeah. And it looks like we probably made the right pick at 1 already. I mean, I know it's early, but a lot of times you can tell, if a guy can play early, which you don't know if he can't. Maybe you see that he can play. I mean, there's no doubt he is an NFL tackle.
Yeah. So it was very clear, even watching it on TV, and Jeremy seems to watch it live, that our defensive line was a real struggle for the Bengals O-line, and our O-line really set that front and gave our running backs room to run. Here's my silver lining. Hey, we made every extra point.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually thought about saying that, Chase. Cody Parkey. Cody Parkey is one of the best non-pressure kickers in the NFL. So if there's no pressure on a kick, he is fantastic. Now, you get him a game on the line from 37 yards in Soldier Field, it might not go as well. But but for a non-pressure kicker, he's as good as they come.
He was on his way to a Chase Smith game ball, but the doofus had to do an illegal procedure and kick it out of bounds.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to clarify another silver lining. We thought that Baker Mayfield was sacked. He wasn't sacked, not once.
That's right.
Oh, awesome.
I thought they got in pretty close.
Too. Yeah.
So a lot of positive takeaways from this game. I mean, you could even say Baker's confidence and how he was able to move the ball. And aside from, I don't know what happened with the interception, whether he just like didn't see the guy or what, but it really felt like he played well.
You know what's funny on that interception, Chase? I was in that area of the field. And I was like, yeah, he's wide open. Oh, so I didn't see the other safety or whoever linebacker had dropped into coverage. I didn't see him either because it looked like Harrison Bryant had broken wide open to the middle of to the back of the end zone. And then so Baker saw the same thing I saw, in fairness, and put it up. And I got excited for a second. I jumped up, and then I saw, no. So in fairness to Baker, it looked like he did break wide open.
Another silver lining, we didn't go down 0-2 in the division, right? Like this win almost counts as 2 wins just because we're still alive in the division. The Steelers won, the Ravens won, they're 2-0. If we would have, it's just that would have not been good. We talked about that in our preview. And then I think to your point, Camryn, this is what the narrative you said last week. Hey, like the Ravens are really, really good. And we played one of the top 3 or 4 teams week 1. And maybe we're definitely not as bad as we looked, and maybe we're not as good as we looked either, but gosh, we're not the worst team.
And that's the silver lining on its own. We're not the worst team, guys.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
we have lowered expectations in Cleveland. We're not the worst team. Yes.
No, I don't think we're even close to being the worst team.
No, I don't think so either. Let me say this though, Chase, and we talked about that a little bit on that pod. We really were set up in this scenario with the worst case scenario week 1, without any going against an established team with an established offense that knows exactly what they're going to run, with no preseason games and new systems on offense and defense. Like that was like such a horrific situation. And I get it. They're all pros, they're all professional players, and everybody has to have a game like that. But it just stinks that was our first game to go into a situation like that with no preseason, no nothing. So I think we can forget about that game and move forward from here.
Yeah. Silver linings, way more fun. A lot to pick from when you win a big game like that. Camryn, what was before we pass out game balls, your most encouraging, your favorite thing you saw on Thursday night?
There's so much, but it's either the use of play action for Baker and just how he looked in it, and something we haven't talked about a lot tonight is how the defense really stepped up. And they've had some struggles. They are, riddled with injuries. But on Thursday, there was a lot of good moments. And Myles Garrett is like one of the leading pressure, has like one of the most pressures in the entire league. He's either leading or he's right under the Nick Bosa. But I mean, he's up there. He had 9 pressures on Thursday night. Porter Gustin showed up with him, 6 pressures on Thursday night. They were getting there. They were making themselves known. The secondary, as much as we dog on them, they held their own. And we'll talk a little bit more in detail because I'm sure I can kind of preview what we're gonna do next. But I mean, Denzel Ward had himself a game, and even Andrew Sendejo, he looked better in week 1, and he looked better.
I'll give you better.
Than week 1. Maybe it's a progress. I'm not sold on him. He's hurt me a lot, but I mean,
yeah.
And I mean, between him, Carl Joseph had a couple plays. I mean, they definitely struggled, but it was more promising than week 1, which I mean, it should be because it was the Bengals. But I just overall, they looked like they were kind of getting it together, and they were kind of embodying that next man up a little bit harder than they were in week 1. So I would just say, how the defense stepped up and the games that they had. Our front four is ridiculous. We already knew that, but it's nice to see some kind of excitement outside of that front four with Denzel Ward's big game, and Sione Taki's trying to step up, and he's trying
so hard.
And I love it. He's young. You got to give him time, but he's all work, man. He is. He really does.
I love him, but he just feels like he's a little undersized and like he's going to end up being like a special teams maven. You know what I mean? He looks like one of those guys going to be in like a special team superstar. I just don't know that he's ever going to be anything other than serviceable in defense. But I like him. I'm a big fan. Don't get me wrong.
Jeremy, can we talk about your guy Mike Prefer for a moment? Special teams a little bit.
Oh, here we go.
Dude, the Bengals, man.
They got to fix him. I think that when you get back these –
come on.
I think when you get back – guys like Greedy, Kevin Johnson, Mac Wilson, guys like Taki will have a bigger role on special teams, and that'll help because that'll put guys maybe that are playing bigger roles on defense back in the special team units. I don't know. I mean, his special teams were excellent last year. Especially we talked about it last year a lot, about how we went from one of the worst units in the league to one of the better units in the league. So we'll see. I'll give a pass this week. But, yeah, the kick out of bounds didn't help. 2 big returns didn't help. So Priest's got to get it together.
Well, let's pass out some game balls, Jeremy. We all got one, so who are you giving your one game ball to?
Man, it's tough. I'm going to give it to a guy that I'm always hard on. I'm going to give it to Baker because he had some, one bad throw. The rest, pinpoint accuracy on a lot of balls. I was impressed. I like the way, like I said, I like the way we used him. I like the way we finally moved the pocket around. But I thought, especially at the beginning of that game, the balls were on the money. I actually went home after the game and watched it again immediately on TV just to see a couple of those throws at the beginning of the game. Because from where I was sitting, they looked so on point. And, placing the ball right where it's supposed to be. The throw to OBJ was perfect. I thought I'm going to give my game ball to a guy that I've always been rough on. I'm going to give it to Baker Mayfield.
Well deserved. Hey, September 21st, Jeremy gave a game ball to Baker Mayfield.
I mean, let's not mention that Josh Allen threw for 417 yards, 4 touchdowns, and completed 70% of his passes. Well, we won't mention that, but no, Baker looked fantastic.
Yep. Jury's still out on Josh Allen. He had one.
That's my guy. My guy.
Your guy. You were all on Josh Allen.
And he looks like he's going to be a player. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Camryn, who's your game ball?
So I mentioned it just a minute ago. I didn't want to give it too much away. I didn't know how quickly we were going to get into this, but my game ball goes to Denzel Ward.
Yeah,
he
great.
Played out of his mind. It was amazing. Pro Football Focus rated him 86.5 against the Bengals. He broke up 4 passes. He completely iced out AJ Green, which is crucial. He's one of the
he's a Browns killer too.
Yeah. Exactly. And Denzel Ward just completely he managed him so well. And you couldn't have asked for a better game from Denzel Ward. And I think that he's kind of now starting to separate himself as a really important and crucial talent for the Browns in this secondary. So game ball goes to him. You couldn't ask for more, except for I want to see more next week.
Man, it sounds like you guys are in love with this Dorsey draft from a couple years ago.
Right? Dorsey.
No, well-deserved. Denzel Ward is a man. And when they got that quick slant touchdown on him, he was so upset.
But he was right there. Sometimes, he was right there. It wasn't like he got burnt. It's a tough play. He had Boyd that got the inside on him. But, I mean, even on that play, he was right there. So he played well.
And I think, again, complimentary football. He's only going to be as good as our pass rush. And our pass rush is only going to be as good as our defensive coverage. Because, honestly, it is so hard to cover receiver one-on-one. And it's just kind of like basketball. Like offense, you should be able to create your own shot and score in basketball. And in football, you should be able to get open for a football throw. It's just the fact that they don't know what you're going to do makes it hard. But he looked fantastic Thursday night. It was great. I totally agree. Baker, Denzel Ward. I had a couple of guys I was thinking about. Harrison Bryant, he had 1 catch, and I forget who, and I'm sorry I'm not giving you a shout, but they highlighted Harrison Bryant on Chubb's first touchdown run, I believe, and how he held a block and just how pumped he was that he, as a rookie, was able to do that. So not quite Harrison Bryant. Joe Buck, sorry, man, you got a surprise induction at halftime. Not quite enough to get a game ball. I know it was good, but I just, as a Cleveland fan, can't give it to you, Joe Buck. Cody Parquet.
I love Joe Buck. The only Cleveland fan that loves him is me.
Cody Parquet, you're doing great. And then the illegal, the illegal whatever it's called, kicked out of bounds and kickoff. Sorry, buddy, you blew it. Chubb Hunt, you guys were great, but I'm going to give it to the game ball that the players gave to in the locker room after the game. Coach Stefanski, who in a short week was able to tailor and change this offense to best suit Baker Mayfield, to get the guys involved early that needed to be involved early, and then to trust the run game and ice the game when we need to not do anything cute, and trust his players to make plays. And I think it was refreshing to see, like, oh my gosh, we have a coach who knows what to do and who knows how to coach a game for all 4 quarters. And I don't know if you've looked, but the Vikings are 0-2. I think maybe they missed a little bit.
And Kirk Cousins had one of the worst games of his career this past week on top of that.
So I think we are just beginning to see really kind of what this team can unlock. And if they can stay focused and if they can continue to develop, and the more comfortable they get with Stefanski's playbook, I think that's, just the sky's the limit. It's hard not to get too excited. Stefanski wins his home opener. And it's a divisional game. And I just think, hey man, good job by you, Stefanski. Here's a Chase Smith game ball, and let's keep it going for next Sunday. Camryn, you like that pick, huh?
Yeah, I do. And I like what you said, that, like, he won his first game, he's focused. And that's what you saw after the game. That's what I really appreciated about Kevin Stefanski and why he deserved that game ball. He won his first game as a head coach in a really nice manner. And then in the press conference after, you couldn't tell.
Very Belichickian.
Yes. Even field, I'm not celebrating. I'm going to bed. We did what we were supposed to do. Let's move on. We've got another game in 10 days. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Do we have the next Belichick? Jeremy Powell, do we have the next Belichick?
2 things we said that we heard when we first hired him. He will never say anything off the cuff. Everything he says will always be measured. He knows what he's going to say. Another thing he said after that game, in that presser, that I loved was, it's not a marathon, it's 16 sprints.
Yep.
Which I had never heard before, but I like that. And it goes on with some things we talk about every game. Every week the game takes on a life of its own. Every game is different. But I've never heard it referred to as not a marathon, but 16 sprints. That was really cool. I like the way he said it. Like I said, I don't want to get too excited because we do this every single year. But I love Stefanski, all right? I love him.
You heard it here. Jeremy thinks he's the next Belichick. Orange is Oranger right here.
That's right. There we go. Wouldn't it be cool if, like, 20 years from now, when I'm about to be 60, we're talking about, 9 AFC championships, and we're all still doing this, and we can't stop because the Browns have been good for 2 decades? That would be fantastic.
Yep. Well, that does it for our Browns recap against the Bengals. Thank you so much for downloading and listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Orange is Orange. You can follow Camryn at Cammy Justice. And Camryn, where can they read your stuff at?
News5Cleveland.com. It's all right there. Search Browns, and all my articles are where you can find them on News 5 Cleveland.
There you go. Camryn, any final thoughts?
Really excited to see what they do against Washington. I really think that if they can channel what they did on Thursday, then man, oh man, this victory feeling on a victory Monday is going to be 10 times better. I cannot wait for that feeling. Let's hope they do it. I'm so stoked. I'm going to enjoy my victory couple days, though, until they play again. It's victory day every day.
That's right. Jeremy, final thoughts, bro?
Let me end the suspense. Browns are going to win next Sunday.
Oh! our
right there, baby.
Will be out near the end of the week. Thank you all so much, and we'll catch you guys later.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Ooh, ooh.
Let's get it.
For the USA.